This artwork uses Darwinian evolution through a computer program. This is specifically called genetic programming, to make a program that evolves from something simple to something much more complicated. This process mirrors the way we evolve, and in some ways mirrors the way that we've evolved artists to create art. All entities have genes within them. We have genes within us, and those genes have a relationship to who we are. Similarly, in this artwork, we have a gene set of computer code. This gene set is the genes of the artwork. Much like we have 4 letters in the DNA sequence, I have these simple 14 genes. These pieces of code control visual elements of the artwork. They make gradations, they turn black to white, and other simple painterly strategies. We take this gene set or function set and we put it together into a computer program. In the early stages, we actually just randomly take one or more of them and put them in any order. Genes can be used in multiple times in multiple ways. These collections of genes then give us a sequence which we call a genome. There is a direct relationship between this genome, the program, and the phenome, the painting that the program makes. So here is a painting. And here is its genome. In this case, it's represented by a set of numbers, but those numbers represent its genetic code. In some ways, this set of numbers is more real than the painting. If I wanted to reuse the painting, if I wanted to change the size perhaps, the image is just a static collection of pixels. It's ephemeral. The genome, however, includes instructions for making another painting. In a way, this is a Darwinian evolution in a computer program, very similar to how it is in animals. So if each painting has a genome, then each painting can have offspring. It does this through crossover and mutation. I'm going to explain how we do that with a computer program. We've already described the first step, which is to create a set of functions that can be combined to make a genome. In evolution, entities are not blindly married together. They exist in an environment in which they have to survive and compete. Environments have various evolutionary pressures that determine which entities survive to pass on their genes. In our computer program, this environment is represented through a fitness test. In this case, the evolutionary pressure is to resemble the Darwin image. So the first population of painting programs generate random paintings. Interestingly, using blind evolution, the programs do not specifically know that they are supposed to resemble Darwin. So results are quite weak, but are tested in another room, so to speak, against the Darwin sitter image for resemblance. A few test better than others, so these survive to pass their genes on to the next population. So how do we evolve offspring? We use a crossover technique. What this means is that we literally rip some of the functions out of each parent at random and swap them between each other. We do this a number of times, and a lot of times this is quite damaging. It's not going to make a very good individual, but occasionally it's going to catch some painterly strategy that there already is, and it's going to add to it in some way. One problem with crossover is inbreeding. In the same way that people with a similar genetic code will produce less viable offspring, having a lack of diversity in a genome will produce less viable paintings. Crossover does not introduce much new diversity into the code. To do this, we use a technique called mutation. Mutation is basically taking one of those numbers in the function set and randomly changing it or flipping its bits. Using a combination of crossover and mutation, we'll get a completely new set of painterly programs. We can then repeat this process over and over again. We can see that I can take one painting program here, and you can see its genome below, and I can take another one, and when I hit the Evolve button here, I marry these two paintings together. When I do this, all these other individuals will die off and not pass their genes on. Instead, we get a new set of paintings, which are the offspring from these parents. We could then pick one of these offspring and remarry it at any time and put that back into the population. This is not simply about morphing two pictures together or doing something you might do with a special effects program. We're not really marrying the surface material, we're marrying the underlying painterly strategies. To understand what I mean by painterly strategies, let's look at these two parent paintings. This one has a strategy I like to call fatness, a very particular strategy. When we combine them, we can see that this strategy has been used in combination With this other vertical striping strategy, we advance these strategies in a few ways. On the site, we use something called aesthetic selection, where the human looks at the picture and decides which one should survive or which one is most aesthetic. In the artwork, we use a form of evolutionary pressure, which is to make these paintings look more like the Darwin sitter image. But it's more than just resembling Darwin. It's also about painting a portrait. And portraits are about more than just resemblance. They are about the creative act. The other evolutionary pressure, then, is about creativity.